Hello, I'm Walter Cronkite. The Pepsi-Cola story begins in the year 1898 at the counter of a soda fountain in New Bern, North Carolina. History records that New Bern was the first capital of the state, but the town's claim to fame is Pepsi. It was the creation of an apothecary who owned the local pharmacy. His name, Caleb Bradham. Here he dispensed medicine and advice in the traditional fashion of a 19th century pharmacist. But behind his soda fountain, he served a refreshing elixir that customers called Brad's Drink. It wasn't first intended as a refreshment. Bradham had mixed oils and extracts with soda bicarbonate for many years. His goal was to create the perfect health drink. The inspiration may have come as early as 1893, but in the summer of 1898, the young, energetic druggist began selling his drink by the name Pepsi-Cola. It didn't take long for business to take off. First he sold it by the glass, then by the gallon, and before long, Bradham was moving 5-gallon kegs of Pepsi syrup out his back door. Caleb Bradham embodied youth, vigor, and progress. Around New Bern, he was prominent and popular, and so was his new drink. Time to register a trademark and form a corporation. By New Year's Day, 1903, Caleb Bradham was president of the Pepsi-Cola Company. The first year, Pepsi sold almost 8,000 gallons of syrup. With his earnings, Bradham reinvested and started advertising, using Pepsi's first celebrity endorsement, his daughter. Mary Bradham became well known as the Pepsi Girl, and she did her job well. In 1904, sales doubled. Bradham's business had outgrown the pharmacy. That called for a new building, greater syrup production, and something new, bottling. In 1905, Bradham sold the first Pepsi-Cola bottling franchise to Henry Fowler of North Carolina. This relationship, a partnership between the ambitious parent, Pepsi, and a growing family of independent bottlers, became the backbone of the company. Ever the entrepreneur, Bradham envisioned Pepsi-Cola sales around the world, so he registered his trademark in Canada and Mexico. 1908 was a big year for Pepsi. In New Bern, Bradham opened the doors of the first official Pepsi-Cola home office. And in Charlotte, Pepsi-Cola was delivered by motorized truck for the first time. By 1910, Pepsi-Cola was bottled in 250 plants across 24 states. Bradham decided it was time to gather the Pepsi family together. So on January 20th of that year, the first Pepsi-Cola Bottlers Convention convened in New Bern. When it ended, Pepsi bottlers went home and pushed sales through the roof. Within 5 years, Pepsi-Cola had assets of more than $1 million. But at the height of this great American success story, fate intervened. World War I brought sugar rationing, which throttled Pepsi's growth. After the war, prices rose sharply, and Bradham bought heavily. 6 months later, the sugar market crashed, and down with it fell Caleb Bradham. In his annual report for 1920, Bradham disclosed the loss of $150,000 to Pepsi shareholders. When the dust settled, only 2 of his 250 bottlers remained in business. For Caleb Bradham, it was the end. His Pepsi-Cola company was bankrupt. In 1923, Bradham walked away from his beloved Pepsi-Cola company and returned to the quiet life of a pharmacist. At age 56, he was out of the soft drink business. Through bankruptcy, Pepsi's formula and trademark were purchased by a financier named R.C. McGargle. He hoped to revive the distressed company on Wall Street. For the next 8 years, McGargle did what he could to prop up the value of Pepsi, only to face the stock market crash of 1929. McGargle managed to keep the Pepsi-Cola trademark alive by operating a single bottling plant in Richmond, Virginia. But 2 years into the Great Depression, he couldn't go on. McGargle had to sell the company or let it die. In 1931, the undisputed giant of the soft drink business was Coca-Cola. It was so big and strong that its salespeople boasted that they had no competition. Coke had a hold that was tough to break. They controlled the leading soft drink trademark, which included the word cola. A customer who took umbrage at the Coca-Cola dominance was the Loft Candy Company, owner of 1,400 soda fountains across America. Loft's president was a man named Charles Guth, and he was tired of buying syrup at the retail price from what he considered an inflexible Coca-Cola company. So Guth decided to buy another brand, and he thought of Pepsi. When Guth inquired about buying Pepsi-Cola syrup in 1931, R.C. McGargle sold him the whole company. With great satisfaction, Guth booted Coke out of the entire Loft chain and introduced Pepsi-Cola. Guth faced the same problems that had confounded his predecessors. Chief among them, the cost of bottles. Guth found a solution: used beer bottles. But their 12-ounce size was twice that of the normal 6-ounce soft drink bottle. Initially, Guth charged a dime for the larger size, but sales dragged, and then he came up with an idea that made marketing history: 12 ounces for a nickel. It worked. In the heart of the Great Depression, twice as much for a nickel made Pepsi-Cola a consumer favorite. Suddenly, Pepsi was more popular than ever before, surpassing the wildest dreams of Caleb Bradham. But the creator of Pepsi-Cola never saw this success. Bradham died in February 1934 at the age of 67. In 1935, Guth moved Pepsi to Long Island City, New York. There he built an enormous full-service bottling plant on the East River. Atop the massive new factory, he put up a huge marquee. There was no mistaking it. Guth made Pepsi-Cola a prized trademark. For 8 years, Charles Guth did great things for Pepsi-Cola, but he did it with the cash and resources of the Loft Candy Company. So in 1936, Loft sued Guth for ownership of Pepsi. It was a contentious action lasting 5 years and included a vicious internal proxy fight for control of both companies. In the end, Loft beat Guth because Pepsi-Cola had grown larger than any single person. It had assumed a life of its own. In 1938, a team of individuals representing the Loft Candy Company took control of Pepsi-Cola. Installed at the top was a man who had expertise in securities on Wall Street, but none in soda pop on Main Street. His name was Walter Mack. Building on the good taste of Brad's drink and Guth's gumption to sell twice as much for a nickel, Mack added something new: big-time advertising. And he thought of everything: skywriting, billboards, a nationally syndicated comic strip. But Walter Mack made Pepsi immortal with a song.
Pepsi-Cola, it's the spot. 12 full ounces, that's a lot. Twice as much for a nickel, too. Pepsi-Cola is a drink for you. Nickel, nickel,
Pepsi-Cola Hits the Spot was the first jingle in national radio advertising history. What's more, it became a hit record requested by listeners across America. Sung in every schoolyard, whistled on every street, remembered by an entire generation. The jingle's direct impact: sales. Sales continued to grow in 1938, and the competition noticed. Giving rise to one of the greatest battles in packaged goods history, Coke tried to slow its new competitor by dragging Pepsi into court for trademark infringement. Pepsi launched a counterattack and confirmed its right to use the word cola. The Cola Wars had begun. Between 1939 and 1941, Pepsi competed with Coke head-to-head across America. It also began trading on the New York Stock Exchange. But at the same time, Pepsi faced a perplexing crisis. Opportunity existed to make the company grow exponentially, but a great force was working against growth: World War II. Despite the fact that Coke received a government contract to provide its soft drink to Allied troops around the world, Pepsi still persevered. One hallmark of the era was a new color scheme for the company logo: red, white, and blue. After the war, Pepsi rebounded when Walter Mack hired a man named William Forsythe to head up a new international division. Soon, Pepsi began to establish a presence in countries around the world. During these post-war years, Pepsi made big strides. This included the hiring of a former Coca-Cola executive, Al Steele. For 9 years, Al Steele presided over Pepsi-Cola, bringing new ideas and new strategies to the company. Steele was daring and willing to take risks. Steele introduced a new logo, a new slogan, and something else: glamour. He moved the company headquarters to an elegant address, 500 Park Avenue in New York City, and he featured haute couture in advertising. To physically upgrade the product's image, Steele unveiled a new bottle design, the swirl bottle, making Pepsi the most elegantly packaged soda of the day. But the most glamorous thing Al Steele did was bring his wife into the Pepsi family. Nobody in the world was more glamorous than Mrs. Steele. Her name was known around the world: Joan Crawford, siren of the silver screen. During Al Steele's watch, glamour translated into record Pepsi sales. By 1959, he had the company poised for greater success. And then suddenly, he died. It was a great shock to the Pepsi family. During this transitional period, a new leader emerged, a man who rose through the company ranks from syrup salesman to president. Don Kendall was the man who brought Pepsi into the world's spotlight. It happened in Moscow, 1959, at the U.S.-Soviet exhibition. It was history's backdrop to the famous kitchen debate between Richard Nixon and Nikita Khrushchev. Pepsi had a kiosk at the exhibition, and at Kendall's urging, Nixon brought Khrushchev to the booth to have a soft drink. It was the most publicized sip of Pepsi ever tasted. As the world changed, Pepsi recognized its opportunity. There was a whole new generation of post-war consumers, the baby boomers.
Come alive, come alive, you're in the Pepsi generation.
By identifying with baby boomers, Pepsi appealed to youth and to the young at heart, no matter what age. It was a brilliant campaign, but it was more. It was a new birth of Pepsi. To increase total market share, the company added new beverages to the product line. One new drink was Mountain Dew.
Yahoo! Mountain Dew!
Another expansion of the product line was Diet Cola. Pepsi couldn't afford to market a separate diet brand, so it took a bold leap. Pepsi created a diet soda and gave it the name of the trademark, Diet Pepsi. This was the soft drink industry's first line extension, and it became a sensation. In 1965, Pepsi made a bigger move. The merger of Pepsi-Cola and Frito-Lay was sealed not by lawyers, but with a handshake. The result was the creation of a new company, PepsiCo, with combined sales of $500 million. At the dawn of the space age, Pepsi, with its energetic new partner Frito-Lay, boldly explored new markets around the world. 1970, a new decade, a new threshold passed in sales, $1 billion, and for Don Kendall, a vision of new possibilities. That year, PepsiCo moved to Purchase, New York. Its new headquarters were a sight to behold, but no more impressive than a rapidly expanding bottom line. Sales soon doubled to $2 billion, and company ranks increased to 50,000. Fueling growth was award-winning advertising. One TV commercial that grabbed attention was called Puppies. It wasn't long before Pepsi found that its positive, hopeful spirit won support all over the world. Plants were opening in Mexico, Argentina, Scotland, the Philippines, and even behind the Iron Curtain. Still, wherever it went in the world, Pepsi had company. Coca-Cola was a formidable competitor. But in the mid-70s, Pepsi took them on straight up with something new, comparative advertising. Thus, the Pepsi Challenge was born.
I want you to tell me which cola you prefer.
Oh, Ma.
Pepsi.
Which do you like better?
I prefer this one.
In 1976, the Pepsi Challenge helped make Pepsi the top soft drink sold in supermarkets across America. And the challenge is no less powerful today. By 1982, sales had soared to $7 billion, and Pepsi had found a new market in one of the oldest countries in the world, China. In this era of magnificent growth and new opportunities, PepsiCo gained a new leader, Wayne Calloway, who had a simple but effective attitude toward success. He said, "If it ain't broke, fix it anyway." Readiness for change, for taking more risks, became a driving corporate philosophy.
Hit mark, 002.
A lot of eyebrows were raised in 1984 when Pepsi hired a superstar to promote its products as the choice of a new generation. It was a daring move, but Pepsi had once again connected with the youth of the world. More show business and sports celebrities followed. These audacious marketing and advertising campaigns and the resulting growth in sales forced the competition to react. But what Coca-Cola did was stunning. They changed their formula. Consumers flatly rejected New Coke. It was a telling development in the great Cola Wars. This spirit of competition led Pepsi into new places, new packages, and new products. In 1989, PepsiCo sales reached a new high, more than $15 billion. In 150 countries from the United States and Mexico to Russia and China, Pepsi had spanned the globe. And it was in space, too, on America's space shuttle and on the Russian space station Mir. And from the nickel jingle of the 1930s to the girls in the 90s, Pepsi had also spanned the generations, keeping itself fresh, alive, and literally in tune with the consumers, who demand convenience, value, and variety. Began as a notion in a rural North Carolina drugstore, is today a product that is sold in almost 200 countries and territories. That success is the Pepsi-Cola story. I'm Walter Cronkite.